Hey y'all,
I'm John.
and I'm Kim. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Magnolia Peach Tea Podcast, where we share real life stories to help you navigate life's ups and downs.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for updates.
Now let's get to the tea.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Today's episode is entitled, He's Still Here. Now, in our previous episodes, we kind of alluded to our different paths for marriage.
Yep.
You're still married, almost 30 years. I'm divorced. I was married for almost
30. That makes me
18.
sound old.
Well, you were young when you got married, though.
I was 21.
Ooh.
You the one about to be 50.
That's so depressing.
Yeah.
AARP, the
Medicare
people, and the senior living final expense people.
Yeah.
Yes.
The life insurance.
Yes. Talking about my family can get additional benefits. Well, thank you for looking out, but I'm not ready. Okay. Call me back.
They're trying to get you ready.
Call me back. But anyway, so we kind of alluded to our different levels of marriage. I was married for 18 years and divorced now. And one of the struggles that I had during the beginning of my marriage was the fact that I was living with a man. We both went from our parents' home to living with our spouse. It was a transition for me.
For me too.
It was difficult. It was a difficult transition for me.
And I think it was because it was just like almost like a turn of a page real quick. Like you went from, one day you were at home, next day, boom,
Right.
You are now somebody's spouse.
Right.
So it's like, okay, now what do I do? So I think in our heads, we as the women, we were like, okay, what we have to do is emulate what we saw
Exactly.
in our home.
Right.
Being that our parents have been married now for 52, is it 52 years?
Yeah.
52 years. From what we saw, it was a healthy marriage. They're still together.
Right.
They still
Lovey-dovey.
And some days now she might want to throw him out the window, kick him down the stairs, but they are still together. So that's kind of like what we saw. They are still together, and it's through thick or thin.
Right. And like the expectations, I guess, going back to what you said, what we saw was dad took care of making sure, providing for the family. Not saying mom didn't work. She did work outside of the house. But what we saw was dad. I remember dad had this, he still does this too. He writes his bills down in a book. And I saw that in marriage. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah. He would
my
take care of the
spouse to be the
finances.
provider or to at least be the contributor.
Yeah.
Dad, sometimes dad wouldn't write the checks. Like I think I remember mom being, even today, she's the check writer.
Yeah, I think he would just kind of make a list of
Yeah.
how to distribute the money, how he wanted the finances kind of, broken down and paid out.
But it was a partnership. And I could say in my marriage, there was no partnering.
Yeah.
There was no desire to partner. I don't think that he was interested in being the provider or taking that role at all, because it was all me.
Well, let me ask you a question. And I know this question is posed to a lot of couples, both married and prior to marriage. Finances, together or separate?
So when we first got married, it was together because, again, I don't think we ever had a knowledge of our parents having separate accounts. It was always, even checks. It was mom and dad's name together, so I just thought that that's how it was going to go. However, that didn't last because anybody who knows me knows I don't like to give away money. NSF, I don't know her. So I don't want to give her no money.
Yeah.
But like, his idea of having a checking account was, I got checks. I still got checks. I'm going to keep writing these checks, regardless of how much money was in the bank. I I could say we never had a conversation about finances.
Or what the
Again,
expectation was.
thinking about how we got married, the eloping and stuff, we never had a conversation about finances and how finances were going to go. And then, like I said, we went from being in my parents' house to being married to someone in the military and having that military lifestyle. You didn't pay rent, you didn't pay utilities. Like the only thing that we had to pay was cable, and then we had, like our car notes and stuff like that. So I remember there was months where we didn't have cable because we didn't have the money. We didn't have those kind of conversations about how our finances were going to go.
What was the holdup, or what was the demise of, cable, not having cable and not being able to pay the bills?
It is called child support. In the military world, you got children. Uncle Sam is going to make sure that he takes that money out of your check
First
to pay for these kids. So that's a lot of it. And then expectations, like providing, starting a savings account, having funds to do X, Y, and Z, to do the fun stuff, to go on cruises or trips or vacations and stuff like that. All kind of fell on me because we didn't have the conversation, and he didn't make me feel comfortable enough going to him to have that conversation, because he was always like, I don't care, I'm buying these Jordans. Bro, we ain't got no TV. We can't even watch TV, but you buying Jordans. So it was we had different expectations. Again, his family's married life did not even remotely resemble what I was accustomed to. So we both didn't have things.
So none of that was discussed before y'all got married. Y'all didn't talk about what the expectation was when you got married. All y'all knew was, let's just get married.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Again, we eloped, so we didn't have that counseling where somebody can kind of sit you down and tell you, or be like that mediator, because, he was going to say what his thought was. I was going to say what my thought was, and we were supposed to come together in the middle. And we didn't have that. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
So the expectations weren't there. Plus, again, me going from my parents' house to living with my husband in a different state. First time ever being outside of Louisiana, living outside of Louisiana. I was just like, he's still here? He's not going nowhere? Like, he always going to go to work and come back here. Like, I'm not going to go meet him somewhere and then we, have dinner or whatever, and then I'm going to go back to my place, he go back to his place. No, we going together? Yeah, that was a struggle for me. Yeah. I have, my OCD tendencies, like things have to be a certain way for me to be okay mentally. Now, I didn't know this fully in the beginning of my marriage, but I did recognize it, during the 18 years. And then even after, I'm like, yeah, this is an OCD tendency. Like, I have to have things a certain way or my mental is totally thrown off. And then I can't function. I can't move on to the next step. And having him in that space and not recognizing that I just needed to do what I needed to do so I can get those little anxiety-filled moments.
Get over them.
Right. And it was just like, it was an argument of why you have to do it this way. Why is this the only way to do things?
Yeah, I think that's something that I struggled with, and I still struggle with it, because in my head, the way that it was instilled in me, this is the way that we wash dishes.
We talked about it, like our mom was like, put both feet on the floor, you'll move faster, you'll get done quicker, that kind of stuff. Or when she says clean the kitchen, she means wash the dishes, dry the dishes, wipe the countertops,
put them away,
put everything away, sweep the floor. I had a problem with the sweeping the floor part, but sweep the floor, that was, everything was like that. And in my head, that's what it meant.
But leaving outside of Lorville Highway, it's like... there are other ways to do this. You don't have to put all the dishes in the water at the same time. You can maybe do the silverware first and then the plates or whatever. But in my head, Mama said this is how you do the dishes. Same way, with anything else that we do. This is just how it was instilled in us. And so I still struggle with that. And I have to tell myself a lot. There's more than one way to do something, Kim. So just because it's not done my way doesn't mean that it's the wrong way. So I do struggle with that, but I don't know what expectations I had about marriage. I mean, I just kind of saw mom and dad, grandmother, and, our aunts and uncles. I saw their marriages, and I mean, I was down for it. I was like, yeah, we could do this.
Yeah, I thought I could do it too.
We talked, like I mentioned in one of our previous podcasts, we talked with our pastor, had counseling sessions with our pastor, and, talked about the ups and downs of marriage. And I remember him saying, 3 things that could break a marriage, communication or failed communication, sex, and money. And, talking about money, I'm with the let's do a shared account. I mean, this is our house. This is our bills. This is our money. I mean, we got to pay these bills together, and we can play together too. I mean, honey, I think
I gave him 2 months. 2 months. You still, NSF still in my pocket. I was like, no, you have yours. I'm going to have mine.
Yeah. And I can understand that. I can understand that because, I mean, we had struggles with finances where, just like you said, daddy would, kind of steer, mom in a direction on how to delegate the finances and stuff. So, and when we first started our marriage, that's what I did. I was like, okay, well, I'll let him, handle the finances. And that was not a smart move. I mean, you just got to know your role in the relationship. And that was not his role.
But that's a conversation. Y'all communicated. Yeah. He was like, okay, yeah, you do this. Yeah. You take care of that part of it because I'm not good at it. Yeah. But like, there was no conversation. It was like the sense of responsibility or what we were responsible for as an adult, period. We weren't on the same page. Our priorities were different.
It didn't matter to him.
Right. We were brought up, again, we're country girls. We were born and raised in the country. When I say country, I'm not saying that like our parents were poor. I would never deem that we were poor. Parents were frugal. So like hand-me-downs was a thing for us.
And we were okay with it.
And we were okay with it.
That's what
name brand. I didn't get my first name brand anything until I was married out on my own and making my own money. But him growing up the way he grew up, if it wasn't name brand, he wasn't wearing it. If it cost $200 for a pair of Jordans, he was going to spend $200 for the pair of Jordans, even though we ain't had no food in the house or we didn't have no gas in the car for me to get to work because he worked on the base. He could walk wherever he wants. So like that wasn't a priority because these Jordans was coming out on Thursday. So he was going to be there on Thursday because he couldn't wait to get them when you could afford them. No, even when you could afford them. And that's one thing with us, I feel like our parents instilled in us, you can have the nice things.
Save up for it.
Exactly. Save up for it. Have a plan to get what you want to get. Yeah. But him and the way he grew up.
Yeah. And it's different. It's different. And that's what I say. There are different people out there. That's why everybody not for everybody. Especially when you get in a relationship with people. I mean, you have to discuss these types of things. Yeah. Because, what I may see as fitting, you may not see as fitting. Right. And if we don't talk about it or discuss it, I mean, just like in watching
Married at First Sight. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Watching that, I'm like, yeah. Right. I mean, maybe the experts might have had it wrong. Right. But there's a lot of communication that needs to happen in order for a marriage to be successful. I think any relationship, whether it's a friendship or a marriage, for it to be successful when you have two different people. Yeah. So,
and I can say that I don't feel in the beginning that I was comfortable with him, period. At first I thought I wasn't comfortable with the idea of being married or even, being a wife or even being a military wife. I don't feel I was comfortable with him, and I don't think he made me feel comfortable in his actions. And I can say that now, hindsight, right? But in the moment,
because you were trying in the moment, you're like, okay, yeah, let me just give it time, or let me, let me step aside and let me just let him try to prove me wrong.
Right. And he didn't. But, again, like I said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe it, regardless of what they say. But I remember newly married, couple of days. I want to say we got married on a Saturday, and we were in Kentucky like that Tuesday. Like, we immediately left to go to Kentucky. And again, first time living outside my parents' house, first time living with a man. First couple of days, getting the house straight and stuff like that. And I forgot what I ate, but my inside was like, you got to go. And I'm like, I can't, because he's still here. And,
you gotta go to the bathroom.
Yes.
You gotta go.
Yes. It wasn't it was gonna be an issue. And I was like, I can't, because he's here. But now at first I thought it was funny. I thought it was like, oh my God, my OCD is like really tripping, because I need to go, but I can't go because he's in the house. I sent him to the store.
No.
I sent him to the store for some arbitrary something so I could go take care of business. And that went on for months. I'm serious. That went on for months. Like, I was not comfortable with even being a human, having human nature stuff happen. I wasn't even comfortable with it. And I'm like, I can't even go to the bathroom. I'm like, what? Yeah. So what was one of the hardest things that you had to adapt to? Like, you and your husband, y'all have two different family dynamics, right? Like, what was the hardest thing that you had to adapt to in marriage?
I think it was in the beginning. Now, things have changed, but I think in the beginning, I had a difficult time with him being a mama's boy. Him being a mama's boy. I mean, just starting out in a marriage, we knew each other. We knew each other for 2-3 years before we got married. But, once you start living with someone, and we weren't making the best financial decisions as newlyweds. I wasn't working because, remember, I was in school. Our finances weren't the best. So him going to his mom for things that could have waited. But he's a geek, so he was like getting CDs and music and DVDs, whatever they were. I don't even know if it was DVDs at that time. Putting that ahead of making sure we had gas to get back and forth. Our utilities were made, so I mean, like, plenty of times.
Right.
Lights were on the verge of being cut off. Phone was always on and off.
Right.
I
was the queen of floating checks, though. I was good at it.
Yep.
Until those electronic stuff came along, I was like, what?
Yep.
Oh, it's
already. It's like when they started handing your check back.
Yes.
Like, wait a minute. No, you don't. No, you gotta process it, don't you?
You're gonna keep this. It's gonna go through in a week or so. I got at least 3 days.
No, it's electronic. No.
Oh.
But yeah, so I think that was difficult. That is way behind us, and our relationship is great. And I think a lot of people are a little envious of the relationship that we have, because I love my mother-in-law. I'll be the first to tell you. I mean, I have no issues with her, and I wish everybody had a relationship like that with their in-laws.
I'm going to have to say that was one of the things that was hard for me to adapt to, was not having the in-law family. Again, growing up the way we grew up, our parents' families were family. They were family. Like, my mama's sister and daddy, they fight like brothers and sisters. Like, they just close, and I didn't have that because he didn't have a typical family. And so even the family that he had, of the 5 people, there was only one person who would even talk to me most times. So it was like, I just felt ostracized, and I'm like, why is that?
Yeah.
Like it's not like I'm supposed to be the in-law. I'm supposed to be like the
welcome, the girl into the family type of thing.
And it wasn't like that at all. I was like the fly on the wall, for real. Like, I was just like, everybody would pass by, or, nobody would say hi. And, honestly, I was kind of to the point where, like, where I go. why go?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was hard to adapt because in my head, I had this idea of my in-laws and how it was gonna be, you know, like the barbecues and the dinners, the weddings, like, the baby showers, like you know,
would do.
Yeah, like our family does, and it was nothing like that at all.
Yeah,
at all.
I hate that for you.
Well, you know, we live and learn.
Yeah,
and, you know,
I hate it for you because I love the relationship that our parents have with my in-laws now.
Yes.
I mean, it's like they're like BFFs. Yes. I mean, you know.
Yes.
Tell them I said, hey.
Dad and your father-in-law be sitting there telling stories about stuff that I'm pretty sure ain't happen like that.
Exactly. But, neither of them went through.
Right.
But I hate that.
Well, again, hindsight is 2020. We didn't like. I met them before we got married, but we didn't really meet and like forge a relationship even before we got married. And then again, we got married and then told everybody we was married, and then everybody was like mad about
the fact that y'all were married.
All right then. Well, yeah, you know. And I'm like the type of person like, well, I might give you a chance, but I'm not gonna keep giving you chance after chance. That was something that I learned later on in marriage, but you know. So if you had to label something as things as the good, bad, and ugly about marriage, what would be your good?
So the good is the extended family. You know, my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law, my sister-in-law, brother-in-laws, that extended family is the good. The bad, probably the rocky road. And I cannot say every marriage has a rocky start, but it just wasn't smooth, you know, financial issues and just trying to get a footing of, you know, how we gonna do this type of thing. That was probably the bad, you know, just trying to figure it out for ourselves. And I guess just adulting. Right. The ugly is that whole there's more than one way to do things, Kim. And having that almost, you know, little controlling pull. And I think behind that controlling pull is, in my head, being taught, this is the way you wash the dishes. Right. You know, this is the way that I was taught how to do it. So I feel, okay, this is the way to do it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So what are your good, bad, and uglies?
In my marriage, I would have to say the good would be it afforded me the opportunity to go outside of this little country world that I was accustomed to.
Experience.
You know, moving to Kentucky, I remember the drive to Kentucky, and I was seeing mountains, and I'm like, my God. And we driving through the mountains because, you know, they made these roads between, you know, through a mountain. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Look at this. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was taking pictures like of everything. Seeing the rolling hills when you know, the rolling hills when you're coming down the mountain, or when you're at the top of the mountain, you're coming down, affording me that opportunity to see something outside of Louisiana and the little town that we are part of from. I can also say that the good was being able to play the stepmom role when I was allowed to, because it wasn't an easy role. It wasn't an easy road. It was difficult in establishing my place as the wife and letting her know that her place as the mother of his child was just that, the mother of his child, but also have an opportunity to forge a good relationship with those kids when we did. You know, of course, you know, kids want their parents together. I understand. I was the outsider. So when, you know, when they became that age, because when we first got together, they were really young. When they got to that age, that's when the divide started happening. It was not so much expected, but I understood it, because if I was in that position as a kid, I would want my parents together too. The bad, I would have to say, is the lack of communication, the lack of partnership. Definitely did not have a partnership. It was you and then me. And then in certain social arenas, it was a us.
Gotcha.
But it was never a consistent, he had me. You know, I always had him. I felt like I always had him because I was always there. I was always, if I needed to work 2 jobs, I was working 2 jobs. If I needed to do whatever I needed to do, if I needed to bounce a check, I was the one bouncing the check. I was making it work. You know, I was doing all of that to make sure that he was happy. I sacrificed my happiness for his happiness because I thought that's what I was supposed to do as a wife. The ugly is the breaking the covenant. Again, looking at our family dynamic, divorce wasn't something that was prevalent. I mean, yeah, we have aunts and uncles who got divorced, but it wasn't like everybody got divorced. So it was, when that covenant was broken, it broke me for a minute. Like, I was kind of like, what did I do? Why am I being punished? You know, and then it was me identifying it was a break in the covenant, but still saying I made a promise, even though it was in the courthouse. I made a promise to God that I was going to try my best. I was going to give him my all. And that's what I did despite the break in the covenant. So that's the ugly part, was like realizing that not everybody took that seriously. Not everybody lived by those words that they took. Hindsight, you live and you learn.
Absolutely.
You live and you learn.
Absolutely.
Some lessons you learn quickly. Some lessons it takes you a little. Some lessons you gotta take over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, like we talk about our college days and stuff. Yeah, that was my relationship was my Math 105 class. I took that several times before I finally got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that I would say that's the good, bad, and the ugly for me.
Yeah.
Now, would I do it again? Sometimes I say no, but like even looking at mama and daddy, I'd be like, oh man, I'm about to be 50. I ain't gonna have nobody to rub my lotion. Who gonna put the lotion on my feet? You know, I think I told you about, you know, we had one nephew, right? One nephew. I'm like, baby, you might have to take care of auntie because I ain't got nobody. But and you know, he'd be like, I got you, you know, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm like, you gonna drive me to the doctor? You gonna drive me to the doctor? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna drive you to the doctor. But yeah, I mean, you know, I do sometimes say I want that. I mean, if it happens, it happens. Am I going to look for it? No.
You think you've had time to heal?
Yes. And you know, the ironic part of it is I think I did my healing
Before you left?
before I even left. I think when I left, I was 100% done. Like done. Like there was no wavering. We sat down, had a conversation. I said, this is what I'm doing. This is when I'm going. And that's what I did. That was it.
Wow. Well, I say that, you know, marriage is, it's not for everybody. It takes work. If you're going to be committed to putting in the work, go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
But be open to doing the work.
You got to be open to doing the work. You got to realize that they're not going nowhere. They're going to still be right there.
And there's just so much you can send them to the store for so you can go to the bathroom.
Please don't send them to the store.
I ran out of things to go. Like, we didn't need half the stuff I went asking him to go to the store for. But I needed him to go because...
Close the door, John. Put the bin on and...
But it's like, I don't know. I think that's that comfort. I didn't feel comfortable.
Child, please.
I wasn't made to feel
Child.
comfortable in that aspect. It took a while. It wasn't like an immediate thing. You know, but you know, like after a while, honey, it is what it is. Door open, whatever. Get all of this.
Thanks for joining us on today.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. We want to hear from you.
So please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tune in for the next episode of Magnolia Peach Tea Podcast.